Join us today as we visit San Diego's Bonsai Club 2023 Spring Show.
I'm Ignacio De La Torre, president of the San Diego Bonsai Club. Tom, as always, thanks so much for traveling down from Los Angeles. The 50th annual Bonsai Show, San Diego Bonsai Club. We're happy to get a ton of people coming through. We've got hundreds of folks who've already come through. The sales area is virtually empty, but there's still things to be purchased. If you have an interest in joining us, please do. We've got a wonderful demonstration on the progression of a Japanese black pine using 11 trees. Should be a lot of fun. Please join us. Testing.
She continues to do this. This is a lifelong hobby. Thank you so much for all that. She's in that presentation of 3 years. Hopefully, it's a little while. COVID. So, please welcome MC.
Landscapes. And I went over there and I there's just a couple of things, just reviewing it. Whatever. And so I will be doing so. But I went into this is 4 weeks ago. Just treated
My name is Bill Graham. I am the Vice President of Education for the San Diego Bonsai Club. This is my first solo display. It is an old olive. I've had the tree for about 3 years. I got it from somebody getting out of bonsai, and honestly, I don't remember who that was. It came in a pot that was twice as deep and much, much larger than this. When I put it in this pot, I had a couple choices. The color was really well, the height was good. It's a little bit long, I feel, for the tree, and next time I go about the same height, but a little bit smaller pot. But for the massive cut I took on it, and I took roughly 4 inches off the base of the roots in the base when I pulled it out to get it in this, I was a little concerned, but it worked out well. Stand's a little big for the display, but this is because this is my first show. I don't own a stand. I borrowed this from my teacher, Fred Miyahara. He was nice enough to lend it to me. So for a better show, the stand should be probably about 2 inches shorter. The height is good. The depth's not bad either, but it should be a little bit tighter. My display is, my accent plant is a Kusamono created by Kathy Edgar. I got it from her about a year ago. It's a rabbit's foot fern and a few other things. Looks very nice together, pairs well. You can see all the nice new growth on the tree. So it's an old olive. There's a beautiful hollow inside, part of what I loved about it when I first saw it. And I get a cool little badge that says first time exhibitor and a little pin for doing this.
Nice. And if for what's the advice you give to a beginner?
The most thing I tell everybody is come find a club. Wherever you live, find a club. They will help you and teach you and guide you. When I got into bonsai about 10 or 11 years ago, I came to this club. Someone had given me a tree. I knew nothing about it, and I wanted to try and keep it alive, of which I was not successful. But it started my interest and got me going, and now I've been the Vice President of Education for 4 years. I run all the classes and the workshops. I'm here a lot, I do a lot, and it's a fantastic hobby, and I hope everybody gets involved in it.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Hi, I'm Mark Edgar. I'm going to talk about a couple of trees here that come from the collection of Sally Puesto. Sally is a longtime San Diego Bonsai Club member, that volunteered for many, many, many years at Safari Park. She was famous for trimming an in-ground acacia tree that was about 5 feet tall. And she would get on her ladder and trim that and keep it in the umbrella shape. And she did that for something like 25 years. And if you're familiar with that tree, it has spiky needles that are at least 3 or 4 inches long. And yet she could trim it and never come away with pinholes all over her arm. It was astonishing. I've tried to trim it myself, and I look like a pincushion when I finish. Anyway, she's 94 now, and she's decided that she has to get rid of her bonsai collection, and she's donating it to the benefit of Safari Park, Bonsai Pavilion, and the bonsai display at the Japanese Friendship Garden. And so all of her 80 trees, if they're sold or displayed, will be a donation from her collection. Quite generous. And these 2 trees here are among her favorites. This one is a windswept raft. She has 3 rafts in her collection, and they're all just beautiful. She has some of the nicest prostrata foliage that I've seen. All of her trees are very tightly compact. Just lovely trees. So this is one that she was interested in having displayed. She asked us to display them, and so my wife Kathy and I prepped the trees for display here. The other windswept tree is, I guess, probably her favorite tree. She asked, when we were over at her house looking at her collection, she asked us maybe a half a dozen times what we were going to do with this tree and if it could be donated to Safari Park. And then I asked her if she wanted to have it displayed here, but she just loves this tree. This pot the tree is in was made by Elmer, who is a San Diego Bonsai Club member, and it really does fit the tree quite nice. So we prepped the tree, and this is probably the last time some of her trees will be displayed.
In public.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. What's your name?
My name is Christine Elmer.
And what do you do here?
I do kusumono.
What is Kuzumono?
Kusumono is a grass thing to be the accent plant for a bonsai.
So do you personally do bonsai?
No, I've got one bonsai tree, but I don't currently do a lot.
So why do you do Kuzumono? How does that balance with bonsai?
It balances by having a accent plant with the tree, and it gives you something really nice to look at.
Good. So what is your favorite part about doing Kuzumono compared to bonsai?
Getting my hands dirty.
Awesome.
Awesome.
And is this part, are you part of a group or?
Yes, we're in a group. Kathy Edgar taught us, and we all have done the kusumono, and there's all different kinds. It's all a kind of an art form to create.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
My name is Lynn Stevenson. This is a ficus nerifolia that you're photographing today from our show. It's going to be in the show, but it will be auctioned off tonight to either an owner with the table, or it will be donated to this Wild Safari Park or to the Japanese Friendship Garden. And the profits are all going to go to the Safari Park.
What's so special about this tree, Lynn?
To me or to...
To you, of course.
Oh, well, because of the maintenance I've put into it, children have always asked how old it is, and I said it's older than your grandfather, and I don't know the age, except that I know I've been training it for over 50 years.
So was this a cutting or is it a...
I don't know.
You don't know?
No. When I got it originally, it's a ficus nerifolia, and the idea was from the Hawaiian that it was going to be done in a banyan style, and that's what I've continued to follow with.
How big was the tree when you first bought it or when you first acquired it?
probably like this.
Oh wow, so it's a little.
Yeah. They're early on. Ficus are fairly fast growing. As they get older and more root bound or tighter pots, they slow down. Like the big one here at the park, they've had to make the park bigger. I mean, the fencing bigger to protect it. I've had to change the size of the pot. Oh, probably 4 times.
So how old is this approximate that you had in your collection so far?
Probably 50 years.
50 years, wow.
Yeah, probably.
Is this one of your favorite trees that you still have, or?
They're all favorites. It's a ficus is just typical for the West Coast and Hawaii and California, and it's a wonderful shade tree. There's a history in San Diego with ficus, and I think that's why I am attached to it from that standpoint. I have a lot of different trees. At the safari park, I have a forest that is probably one of my favorites, and that's a juniper. So it varies with what the tree is.
Awesome. Thank you for your time today.
You're welcome. You're
Perfect.
welcome.
Okay, I'm John Jackson. This is my Palmer oak that I've had for probably about 10 years. And I could tell you the story, but I think it might go longer than he wants to listen to.
This is the Clip Note version.
I traded about 10 pots for this tree, worth about $100.
Back in the days, right?
Well, no, only about 10 years ago.
Oh wow.
Only about 10 years ago. Yeah, the guy that I tried to buy this tree from Carl Young.
Oh.
And he said it was sold that morning to somebody who bought it for her husband for his birthday. And about 10 years later, we were having a meeting at one of our club members' houses, and there was this tree. And he told me, he says, I can grow it, but he says, I don't know how to bonsai it. And about 3 months later, he asked me if I had a bunch of small pots. And I said, yeah. And he says, well, I'll trade you that oak for those pots.
Nice.
The pots were worth probably $100. And it was in this pot, too. So
What is a Palmer oak?
it's more of a, you don't see them they don't get very big. They don't grow tall. They're more of a scrub oak type thing.
Okay.
And they're just from Lodi area
Okay.
is where Carl Jung lived, and he's the one that collected it.
So it is a Yamadori then.
Yeah.
Is this one of your favorite trees though?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite trees.
And
Yeah.
what's so special compared to like a scrub oak? What's the characteristic difference between that and a Palmer oak? Or is there any really difference?
I don't know if there's any really difference. I really don't think there's any difference. I mean, these have really sharp leaves.
Yeah.
My wife helps me keep it clean, and I know if you touch it with a dead leaf, it'll just stick in your hand.
Oh, nice.
They're really sharp.
Awesome.
So, and that's about it.
Awesome. Thank you for your time today.
Okay.
Okay, Mark Edgar again. I wanted to talk about 2 liquid ambers. This one and the one next to it over here. My wife Kathy and I started learning bonsai in about 2010. And one of the first things we did was volunteer at the bonsai garden out at Safari Park in San Diego. And that, at the time, that was just being built by members of the San Diego Bonsai Club. So for the first probably year that we were in the club, we spent that time fencing and digging holes and irrigation. Very little to do with bonsai, actually, but it was still fun. One of the main architects or builders of the San Diego Pavilion at Safari Park was John Jackson. John's a carpenter, finished carpenter by trade, and so he actually built all the fencing in the park. And so Kathy and I would go out during the week, and John would make us screw boards to fence posts over and over and over again. And so we did that, just the 3 of us, for a long time. And so after the pavilion was finished, John came out one day and he had a liquid amber in his car that he gave Kathy and I for helping him. And so this was the tree, although at the time the tree was in a dish pan. You can't really see it too well, but it had the clump here, and then it had 4 trunks. And so John said, you have to pick a trunk to cut off because you can only have an odd number. And since we had done nothing but really screw fence boards to posts, we knew nothing about bonsai. And so for the next 3 or 4 years, we've tried to figure out what trunk to cut off. And finally we picked one, and it started to rot out of the remaining three, the base and the remaining 3 trunks. And so we decided, we were learning more about bonsai, so we decided to air layer off the trunks that remained so we could actually make trees out of them. And so we sold a couple of them, but this one is one of the main trees that we air layered off of the stump there. And then we noticed that the stump started to grow little outgrowths, and so I was messing around with seeing if I could make another tree out of it. And so this was about 5 or 6 years ago, and so this was about 5 or 6 years from a stump to the tree here. And so it makes a nice story. We always appreciated John for giving us that tree and the opportunity to build fencing. So thank you.
Thank you.
If you guys enjoy the San Diego Bonsai Club 2023 Spring Show, please like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye now.